right. Hello. Welcome to Website Q&A. I don't really have a title for this, but I wanted to just take some time and address some questions about building and improving your business website. This is one of the main things that I do for clients over the past decade. I've been building websites. It's one of my areas of expertise. So I have some knowledge. I'd love to share it with you. If you have some questions, I have some answers, as much as I'm able to. And if I don't have answers, I will gladly point you in a better direction. But I did get some questions from y'all. Thank you for submitting them. And let me just say right up front, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was because I am offering a website workshop teaching people how to build a website. But then I realized, there's a lot of stuff you need to figure out before you just start plugging away and building a website. For instance, one of the first questions is, what are the pros and cons of different platforms, different website building tools, different sites, and other tips for keeping costs down? There's a lot there. So, but that's going to be kind of the framework for a lot of these other questions that came in. We need to figure out what's the best platform for you. In my experience building websites for other clients, I've always been a WordPress guy. Even at the university where I used to work at, we built the university website on WordPress. WordPress used to just be like a little bloggy Zanga type alternative way back when, and now it's running like half the internet. It's very flexible. It's very popular. It's well supported. I'm going to talk a little bit more about more reasons why I like WordPress and why that's kind of my go-to. But actually, let me back up and talk about a few other options. Another platform that's very popular, and you'll hear it advertised in just about every podcast you listen to, is Squarespace. And it's very popular for a good reason, because it makes it easy, supposedly, to build a beautiful website. It does. You can whip up an account, choose a nice looking template, and be on your way, but with a few caveats. Pros of Squarespace is it's managed. Everything's there. You don't need to worry about getting separate hosting. It's pretty much drag and drop. There's enough flexibility that you can make different changes, but not too much that you can break something. It's kind of a safe play for people just wanting to get started. They want a website for their business, but they don't feel super tech savvy. But some things aren't as intuitive as it advertises. Beautiful websites in seconds, if you put beautiful things into it. Any platform is going to be a garbage in, garbage out situation. So if you have subpar photographs, you don't really have a good grasp of typography and color theory, and you have a low-res, amateurish looking logo, you put all of those things together in a beautiful Squarespace template, and it's not going to look as beautiful as it could if you were to improve all of those things. So there's nothing magic about any of these options. You have to design it, to look good. Another thing about Squarespace is it's not expensive to start, but everything starts racking up. So let me share my screen real quick, and we'll just take a quick look at their options. The base price is going to start around, oh, it's already up here. So the base price is going to start around $16 a month. Not too bad considering this is your business website, but if you actually want a business website, that's $23 going up to commerce. I'd say if you want to sell anything, you probably want to stick with commerce. Although you can sell stuff on the business site, if you see down here, I don't know if I can draw on my screen. I cannot. But if you see towards the bottom of the business column, fully integrated e-commerce, there is a 3% transaction fee on top of whatever other payment gateway fees you might have. If you're using Stripe or PayPal or something else, that's going to take the cut, and then Squarespace is going to take a cut on top of that. So if you're really serious about selling stuff, you probably want to go with one of their commerce plans. It's a little bit more expensive, but depending on how much sales volume you have, you can save on that transaction fee. But that's just to get started with a website. If you want to add email marketing, which is nice, they have that all baked in there. You don't need to run off and get a MailChimp account, but you can add email marketing to it, online appointments. They have a Calendly alternative, so everything is integrated into there. I think it's called Acuity. Oh, and they're running a sale on that right now. But that's going to be another $16, $27, or $49 a month if you pay annually. And if you want a members area, so if you're running a membership community or you want to restrict sections of your content to a paying member. A lot of people that I work with, a lot of my friends, I know you're coaches, or you have a platform you're developing and you want to create a membership community. Squarespace has the tools to do this, but after you bring on all of these additional modules, these are extra fees on top of their base $16 a month or $20 a month. I did the math. It's going to be about $1,200 a year. So that's a little bit more expensive than $16 a month. Your base price, $16 a month, $192 a year. But if you add all the bells and whistles, now you're talking $1,284. I using the mid range prices there, so that's $100 a month. You're getting into Kajabi territory at that rate. If you don't know what Kajabi is, that's like an all-in-one platform. You can like host a podcast. You have a membership community. It's really robust. It has everything integrated. Squarespace can do those things too, but the costs add up. But at the same time, the benefit is you can pick and choose. You don't need all of those things. So you can kind of turn on and off the features that you need or don't need. I'm going to get to WordPress in a second. But first, there's other managed builders like Wix. That's also very popular. I don't have a lot of personal experience using Wix. At least not since like 2012. It is getting pretty robust. Like it's a player. I used to knock it, but it's a player, and they have a really robust Editor X. I was just watching a video on that. It looks cool, but on paper, I don't really see the competitive advantage over Squarespace. And then there's other tools like Webflow. Webflow is gaining a lot of momentum. If you are a designer and you like the flexibility and you want to create like a much more interactive experience, Webflow seems really cool just from a web design standpoint. But I'm talking to entrepreneurs, people growing a side hustle, small business owners. You just want something that's a little bit more plug and play. Webflow probably isn't the way to go, but you might hire somebody who knows Webflow to build you a really unique interactive site. You might want to hire a professional to build you any of these sites at the end of the day. We'll talk more about that later. And then There's a lot of other builders out there. I'm not going to go into like the technical options. Of course, you could learn how to code and build something yourself, but there's website builders in Mailchimp now. You can, if you have a Mailchimp account, you can build a website off of that. You can build landing pages with ConvertKit, or Canva even has a website builder. I don't know how robust it is. I don't know if you can have multi pages and link it all together. But if you just have very basic needs, there's a lot of options out there for you just to kind of get up and running with a very, very basic web presence. Now, WordPress. Let's talk about WordPress. Pros and cons. I mentioned earlier, lots of flexibility, lots of extensibility. I like WordPress because you can start simple and you can add on a bunch of plugins or a few plugins and really pick and choose and design the experience that you want. But with a lot of options comes the potential for a lot of complications. And like any machine, the more moving pieces you have, the more possible points of failure you have. So you have to be careful. If you have a lot of plugins, especially if they're not from like a reputable developer, they might fall out of date. They might have conflicts with your other plugins. There might be security flaws. I don't want to scare you away from WordPress, though, but those are things that you need to keep in mind. Another thing that you need to do with WordPress is find your own hosting. Real quick, there is a WordPress.com. This is a point of confusion for some people. There's a WordPress.com, which is a managed WordPress experience. It gives you the WordPress backend, and you pay almost kind of like Squarespace. Like, they'll host it, everything is there. I don't really like it because it's kind of rigid, but if you just want a simple, like, I don't need to worry about this, just let these people manage everything. I don't need to find a host and install WordPress. I'm getting ahead of myself. So there's WordPress.com. That is a like subscription service, very similar to Squarespace, just using WordPress as the framework. Then there's WordPress.org, which is a free open source WordPress. You use that as the engine of your website, so to speak, and you can install that software onto a server of your choice. You could run it on your own servers if you're super tech savvy, or what people typically do is pay another web hosting provider to run their website for them. So let's talk about web hosting real quick. It's complicated, but I like that it's complicated because, unlike Squarespace, if you build your website on Squarespace, you're kind of stuck there. Everything's integrated, but it's gonna be hard to move that somewhere else. But if you are picking your own hosting, you can shop around. You can see, oh, these guys actually have a better service, and you can migrate all of your data to another web host relatively easily. So that's a benefit. Although if you're not really technically savvy, you might not consider that. So WordPress hosting, talking about keeping costs down now, understanding the costs. There's shared hosting. There's which I think is fine to get started. Bluehost is a very, very popular host. You'll see them advertise all the time. Because I said Bluehost and you heard it, you're probably going to have like Bluehost ads pop up in your Facebook feed now. I don't like them personally. I just haven't had the best experience. Maybe they've improved, but they do a lot of upsells. I won't go on a huge tangent. I like, for shared hosting, Hostinger is a fine option. They do the whole thing where it's like unlimited websites, and you just have to be careful, though, that you don't actually overtask it. Resources are limited. I'm kind of getting off track here. But anyway, shared hosting is a cheap way to get started. It could be a good option if you're not getting a ton of traffic. You don't really need to worry that much about performance, but just be mindful. You might see a low starting price, but they usually will renew at a much higher price after your original term. So, for instance, Bluehost will advertise $2.95 a month. That's a steal. But after the first year, it's going to renew at $10.99 a month. And then they're going to charge you more for stuff like daily backups and different things that should just come included with the price. I think they are very popular, and that gives them a position where they can kind of jerk you around a little bit and try to sell you things that you don't actually need. I like managed hosting solutions. They are much more focused on WordPress. If you're going in on WordPress, there's sites like WP Engine, Flywheel, Kinsta, but those can get pricey. But they're all in on WordPress, and they have really good support. They're really performance focused. But my new favorite host that I recommend, I'm thinking of a figure of speech here, and it's not coming to me. I recommend it highly, is WPMU Dev. And I started using them for just about all my clients now. And you can get a plan starting at $12 a month, which compared to that Bluehost price, $2.95, well, that's significantly more expensive. But keep in mind, that's just a promo rate. After you renew, you're not that far off. And with that $12.99, you get staging, Hostinger, depending on the plan. Actually, let me pull that up. Oh, am I still sharing my screen? Hold up. So, Hostinger, I had this here. I am not a live stream pro, can you tell? I don't have Hostinger pulled up. I'll share a link to that. They have a couple different options, and but go for the middle tier. Don't go for the basic tier. I think the middle tier is the one that has staging. You always want to look for a site that has staging environment included. That is like a little side server that you can develop on or test out stuff. Getting a little technical schmechnical there, but if you don't care about it, the person that you might need to hire to come in and help you, they'll very much like that you have a staging environment on your web host. But what was I saying? WPMU Dev, great host for like $1 more than what Bluehost is charging you. They give you staging. They give you a free SSL certificate. It's dedicated hosting, great support, and they include plugins. Their premium plugins are some of the best on the market, especially Smush. That's an image optimizer. Real quick side note, one fatal flaw that I see a lot of people do with their website is uploading full-size, high-res photographs. And if photos are getting just massive nowadays. So if you shoot something on your camera phone and you download it somewhere, that thing could be like 12, 15 megabytes, and then you just upload that to your site without resizing it or compressing it anyway. That's going to be a huge hit on your visitors' data plan if they're visiting it on mobile, and it's going to take a while to load your site. The more high-res images you have, if you're not optimizing them anyway, that's a recipe for a slow-loading website. Something to keep in mind. But WPMU Dev gives you Smush Pro, which resizes and compresses and optimizes your image. They give you security plugins, a great form builder plugin, an SEO plug. They have a whole suite of stuff. They're great. I highly recommend them. So now that you have your hosting, how do you actually use WordPress? There is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's getting easier and easier to build a nice website with WordPress, especially with the advent of page builders like Elementor. I use Elementor. Um, there's a free version that you can install. So basically what Elementor does is it creates that drag and drop website building experience that you would expect from something like Squarespace. Um, so here is just a quick look at it. You've probably seen it. You can just, once you install it, it almost creates like another piece of software on your site. You can drag and drop different elements. They have a free version of the plugin, but you can get the pro version of the plugin for just $59 a year, and I think it's absolutely worth it. There's price breaks if you manage multiple sites. This is kind of hidden away, but the 3 Pro site costs $99. That's worth your consideration if you're an entrepreneur and you play with several different business ideas. And then something else to consider, talking about the complications of finding hosting and installing WordPress and all of this, Elementor now offers their own hosting plans at different tiers based on the amount of storage and estimated site visitors and bandwidth that you need. But it starts at $9.99 a month, and that includes Elementor Pro. Elementor Pro is $60 a year. You're paying about $5 a month for hosting. So, and I haven't used it myself. I don't know how flexible, how restrictive it is, but right here I see good support, an SSL certificate, Cloudflare CDN, auto backups, bring your own domain. So it looks decent on paper. I haven't tried it out myself, but that looks like a simpler solution if you don't want to have to go shopping around and figuring out what's the best host for me, but you want to use Elementor. You can just use them and you'll have an Elementor site ready to go, and not have to go through the whole WordPress installation piece. So all in, Squarespace was like $1,284. Elementor, or WordPress, if you go that route, let's say you get $10 a month hosting, $12 a month hosting with WPMU Dev, plus Elementor for $59 a year, we're up to a whopping $17 a month, or $204 a year, which is very close to that base price Squarespace plan, at $192 a year. It's very comparable. And really now you have to decide which way you want to go. If you want to sell something on a WordPress site, you're going to need to add some new plugins. WooCommerce is the most popular commerce plugin. There's a ton of options. It starts free, the base WooCommerce plugin, to be able to just simply sell products on your website. That doesn't cost anymore. That's free to use and set up. But there's hundreds of add-ons that you can buy licenses for to give your customers a much more, depending on your needs. If you have a big catalog, for instance, and you want people to be able to like filter through products, that might be another add-on that might cost like $79 a year. I was looking at this earlier. Recurring payments and subscriptions. So if you have, if you sell something and you want to charge people automatically on a recurring basis, I think you're going to have to pay $199 for that feature. You could shop around and you could see what else there is. Or you could find another like dedicated e-commerce solution and find a way to integrate that into your site. Again, there's lots of different options. There's lots of different approaches to this. If you go with something like Squarespace, you have to do e-commerce the way they do e-commerce. If you choose WordPress, you have a lot more options to explore and figure out how you're going to build your website experience. But back to that price, talking about $204 a year compared to $192, potentially up to over $1,000 a year. You can really control your costs with WordPress. Now, different plugins, some of them are free, some of them will cost something, and they might have a subscription cost tied to it as well. But you can also squeeze a lot of juice out of free plugins or freemium plugins. There might be a paid option, but they have some like simple basic features that you can use before you have to start paying anybody anything to use some more pro features. Again, like Elementor, you can use the free version of that and then pay a little bit more to unlock some additional features. I think you should go and pay for Elementor Pro, but there's other plugins that I don't think you need to pay for. The free version will get you plenty far. You can also look for lifetime deals. This is actually how I've built my website empire and arsenal of tools. AppSumo.com. I'll leave a link to everything that I'm mentioning. AppSumo runs lifetime deals on software. Sometimes they're established, sometimes they're kind of like new businesses just getting started, and you always take a gamble. I'm getting off topic, but you can find WordPress plugins or services that work well with WordPress and pay like a low one-time fee to get access to that tool forever, as long as the company actually keeps running, which they don't always. But I've been able to snag deals like Fluent Forms, which is a great form builder plugin, Studio Cart, which is the e-commerce tool that I use on Brero. So that's one way that you can control costs, is looking for lifetime deals and experimenting with those plugins instead of just anytime you search for Google, you're going to get ads at the top. Ads cost money that big companies with big marketing budgets are able to pay for. So you're going to get swamped like, what's the best XYZ plugin? It's going to be a good plugin most likely, but that's because it's from a big company that you can trust. But at the same time, there's some hidden gems is what I'm trying to say. All right. So I don't know if that answered your question. Lots of different platforms, different ways that you can control costs. But one more thought on the whole idea of costs is, if you're just doing this as a hobby and you just want to build a website just for fun, go ahead and do like the cheapest shared hosting option that you can. Find a free use Google Sites even. I know some people are asking about should I use Google Sites? You should not use Google Sites for a business website. I'll just say that point blank. But if you just are a hobbyist and you want to play around with building a website and have a blog, that's fine. You do you. But if you want to show up professionally, invest some money. If you're running your business off of this, if this is an investment, spend a little bit of money, whether it's $200 a year or $1,200 a year. If you're making money off of this and you're making a return on your investment, then the cost doesn't really matter. You're price sensitive when you're just starting out, so I get it. There's this tendency to like, how can you scrimp and save? And you should like run lean, stay lean. But if you're making money and this is the main way that you make money, do what you got to do to make money. If it's an online business and you sell memberships, then pay for something that's going to give your clients a good membership experience. Don't try to hack it and rant. So yeah, like spending money isn't always a bad thing. Next question, best way to coordinate email. Um, that could mean a couple things. So I don't know if you're talking about business email or email marketing. Business email. Um, Please don't use John's Plumbing Company at yahoo.com anymore. That does not look good. We just talked about the importance of showing up as a professional. You can get some of the hosting providers I mentioned, they'll come with a free email account along with that. Um, More on that in a second. Email marketing, that will be how you like blast your customers with promotions and updates about your site. Those are two different things. Usually, Squarespace has an email marketing campaign, or an email marketing campaign builder. I would recommend just sticking with best of breed. You don't need to build your website based on what you want to do with your email, would be my recommendation. But real quick, so business email, some hosts will give you a business email account, like with your domain. So it could be john at johnsplumbingco.com. The hosting, the free email addresses, though, it's probably a really bad webmail experience that you're going to have to put up with, or you're going to have to do some like technical hoop jumping to sync that up with another email client like Apple Mail or Outlook, or even Gmail. Like sometimes you can send and receive from Gmail, but you have to do some steps to get that configured. I recommend just using a dedicated service. I like Google Workspace. Yes, you have to pay, I think it's like $6 a month for their basic plan, but you're getting access to Google Drive. It integrates with your calendar and Google Meet. Like your account, your Google account syncs up with everything. And if you're doing business and you're sending email invites, calendar invites, event invites, running Google Meet campaigns, if you can do that all under your own business domain, I think that's a good look. So it's $6. There's other alternatives though, and Office 365, I think that's the same price. Zoho is a cheaper business email alternative that you can check out, and they have other web-based software. It's just not as familiar, but if you just need email, you can check them out. But I like Google Workspace. Next question. What security options or encryption is required? So security and websites, usually this is going to be taken care of at the host level. If you are running, if you're on Squarespace, a lot of that's like all taken care of for you. At least you have no control over it. Hopefully it's being taken care of for you, because there really aren't any additional security settings for you to configure. That's all like on their end. WordPress, you do have to make sure that you're updating your plugins, and people are always like poking and prodding, trying to find exploits. Sometimes you might hear, at least in the circles I swim in, a vulnerability that's been reported in a certain plugin. So you need to do due diligence and keep things updated. There's different security plugins that can do things that kind of block malicious login attempts. You can use a CDN. I'm getting technical. There's things that you can do, and I can point you to some resources. If you go the WordPress approach, and it's not a managed WordPress, some hosts will do a lot of the security for you, but you do need to take that into your hands a little bit more. But for the most part, it's easy. If you want to open up a bank, that's or you're a doctor's office and you're handling different medical records and things that are subject to privacy laws. Like there's additional layers of requirements that you need to deal with. You probably don't have to worry about that. If you are selling things and processing credit card transactions, usually that's all encrypted. That's handled by the payment gateway like Stripe or PayPal. When somebody is typing in their credit card information, you're not getting that. I hope not. I hope you're not using a contact form where you are asking them to like email you their credit card. It's all being handled through a gateway that has their own layers of security. So when it comes to handling money, usually if you're doing it the right way, you don't need to worry about that. That's all being done for you by the payment gateway. If I want to start out with just a basic web presence, this is another question, but wanted to grow into selling products through the website, what do I have to keep in mind? Do I have to change platforms to do that? This is a very good question. You can start small and you can grow with really any of these options. As long as they have the features. So Squarespace, we just talked about how they have scheduling and memberships and different levels of e-commerce features. But you can start with that $16 a month plan and just run a basic website. And then you can add those other features on later. With Squarespace, it's basically you just pay for it and it locks it, and now you have a new link that you can click on in your dashboard. Same with WordPress. You can add and extend and make your site more robust and feature rich as you grow. So you can start small. You don't need to change platforms. The only thing that you might need to consider is if you have a small hosting platform that doesn't really a lot of traffic, you might need to upgrade. But again, the hosting company should be able to just kind of say, okay, we'll kick you up on the next plan if you start generating a ton of traffic. What's a simple template you'd recommend? Order of things to appear on a homepage for a new entrepreneur. Okay, so now we're talking about design. Simple template. Squarespace, any of these website builders, especially WordPress. WordPress used to be all about themes, and you would basically build your website around a theme. You'd go to Theme Forest or another website where they'd have a whole selection of different themes that you could go through, download it, install it to your website, and then you could customize it a little bit. But you're more or less now kind of like locked into using a certain theme that would have different amounts of flexibility. Now with the page builders, you can design your site basically any way that you want. But also with the page builders, they do have themes. They do have blocks to get you started. So, you know what? Here, let's... I'm going to be running next week. Next Saturday, I'm planning on running a WordPress workshop. That I'm going to go behind the scenes and show you how to use Elementor. I'll show you how they have pre-made templates that you can plug and play either for a whole page or for just blocks on a page. But speaking of blocks, here's the sign-up sheet for that. Let's talk about design real quick. Let's see, what can I share with you? How about this? Okay. This is kind of the one of the best, maybe, every site looks this way, but it looks this way for a reason. If it doesn't look this way, it should look this way, because this is one of the best layouts, the best templates. Whether you are finding a template that looks this way already, or you're using a page builder to make your site look this way, I would highly recommend using this framework. You have the logo at the top. You have just a handful of links. Please don't overcomplicate your menu. We do not need everything up there. There's other places. You could have a ton of resources on your site, but you want to restrict your main navigation to the most important pieces. And this primary CTA's call to action. What is the main thing that you want your website to do? Let's roll back a little bit. And before we even talk about designing websites, before we talk about hosting and picking the best platform, sorry, my apologies, should have started with this question. What is the purpose of your website? Do you want to sell something? Do you want to just share a blog? What's the main action you want people to take? Even if it is just sharing a blog, do you want people to subscribe to that? Make it easy for people to understand what they're supposed to do and make a call to action in a contrasting color. Make a button, make it eye-catching, and put that right there at the top of the page. Our eyes kind of scroll in a Z pattern. So you see the logo, the name, okay, over there to the eye-catching call to action, then down across the center of the screen where you will put a very clear value proposition, a very clear one-liner that explains who you are, what you're about, and what your customers, your site visitors can expect, and then repeat your call to action. Sometimes you can have a secondary call to action if there's, if there's more than one option for them to interact with you. But this is one of my favorite ways to set up a website. Now, everything that happens below this can be a little bit more flexible, but there are some basic building blocks that I like to follow. And I teach this in the website workshop. I also have a website, done for you website offer that comes bundled with coaching. So I don't just do it for you. I work with you to teach you why I'm building it a certain way and how you can take the reins and be confident in how to use your website, how to design additional pages for your website, and just understand how everything's working together. But I like to think of like you have these different building blocks that you can include, especially on the home page. You have the header, which we just saw an example of. And then below that, you want to repeat your value proposition. What all are you offering your client? Unpack that statement that you have in the beginning. Now you can give them a few more options. Let's bring up Brero real quick. This is my business and marketing consulting practice with my partner, Brian. You should check us out. We would love to work with you. But here you have the header. And then below here, we have kind of another repeat of the value proposition. We unpack this a little bit more. And we tell you different things that we can do. Uncover opportunities, level up, plant your flag, rest easy. Honestly, maybe I could clarify this so like it's not as cryptic, but you know exactly what these things mean. But you can build that here. Down here, and this is actually, if you see this, this is actually the Brero website. Then further down, you can build trust. This could either be reviews or testimonials, accolades. This is another type of block that you can include. The plan. How do people actually work with you? What are the steps they should take to get the transformative result that you're offering them? And then we repeat the call to action. Some more trust builders, and then here's a form that we can include. This can look different ways for different websites, but you kind of stack it up and you can rearrange these things in different ways. And then one more thing that I want to show you is the junk drawer. How many links are up here? We have About Us, Grow With Us, and underneath that we have a couple different offers and a free evaluation. But then down here we have some more stuff: privacy policy, terms and conditions, DMCA policy, some other links, client login. That's not at the top. I'm not cluttering that up there. I'm not wasting that valuable space. I want you to click on one of these other things to learn more about us. Even that, I would say, depending on the goals of your website, you can push down into the junk drawer in the footer or somewhere else. Don't waste that valuable space up there. Reduce the options that people have to the most important options that you want them to pay attention to. So, hope that answers your question. That's a good starter. I dig into that. I'd love to have more conversations about that. There's lots of different layouts that you can include. There's other ways to build trust. There's different ways to lay this out. There's different templates. But that is just, I think, a good standard way of laying out your site that's going to be really effective for your homepage. And then, it's going to look a little bit different for a product page. There's best practices for different types of pages. But that's just a real quick breeze. All right, got about 15 more minutes with you guys. If there's any more questions coming in, I have a few left here that I will tackle. We just talked about layout, homepage, which metrics to tend to first. Which metrics should we tend to first? And what should we change or leverage to change said metrics? Okay, I think you are talking about analytics, which I am very glad that you are bringing this up, because this is something I think is way often overlooked. You can get so much information about how people are using your website. Now, there's a big talk about privacy and how much data we're gathering on our customers. You see the cookie policies popping up. This is all related to how we are tracking customer data, what we're collecting. And more people are kind of thinking, you know what? I'd really like it if you didn't stare at me while I'm walking around your store. But you can still collect information safely, anonymously, and using Google Analytics. I know their new version is cookieless and is more privacy focused. There's other options. Your hosting provider, Squarespace, other builders, they might have some analytics that they can give you on who's visiting your site, or not the actual name and address of the person who's visiting your site, but you can see where they're coming from. You can see what pages are being visited most. You can set conversion points. So if you have a flow where maybe you want somebody to register for something, they fill out a form, you can send them to a thank you page, and then you can then see in your analytics how many people are hitting your thank you page versus how many people are getting to the registration form. And then you can get a good idea of, okay, how many people are converting here? Do I need to improve the way that I am messaging and telling people why they should sign up? Like, you can identify different bottlenecks. If people are getting to one step, but they're not completing it and getting to the step where you benefit from it. Really, it comes down to which metrics should you tend to first. Again, that comes down to what is the goal of your website? What's the goal of your business? What matters most to you? Is your goal to just increase traffic in general? Then you can look at the page views. If you want them to get to a specific page, you can, like I just said, try to figure out, am I making a clear path for them to get there? Am I making it easy for them to find this information that I want them to get to? If you have a blog and you're getting a lot of site traffic, you can see which pages are getting that traffic, and you can kind of start figuring out, oh, I wrote an article about this topic and that is getting thousands of views every month. And the article that I wrote about this other topic is crickets. Maybe I should write more articles on this topic. Like, that seems to be of interest. That's a way that I can drive traffic and awareness. So there's different things that you can dig into with analytics. The key is make sure you got it set up, because some people, they'll have their website built up, but they've never installed Google Analytics or any other analytic software, and they're just driving in the dark. If they are trying to move people to complete goals, but they don't know what people are actually doing, then they don't know how to improve. So it's a good question, but it's kind of open-ended. It really is based on what you want people to do. SEO type stuff. That is what they wrote. SEO type stuff. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Search engine optimization. It's always changing. Google is always updating their algorithms to weigh different factors more highly than others. Gone are the days of where you could just like load up a page with keywords that you want to rank highly for. Now they pay attention a lot more to the user experience, and they have different ways of kind of figuring out, is this a good option for us to suggest to the people using our site? Because we want people to use our search engine, and we want to give them good, relevant, helpful results. So if not only is the content relevant, but is it loading quickly? Is it optimized for mobile devices? Because more and more people are accessing your website on your phone. That is something not to overlook. And they have all these different ways of kind of measuring the experience of your website. That's something you need to pay attention to. So the performance is just as important as the content that is on there. And now with AI and just a flood of new content hitting the internet, that's going to be another thing that you're going to start to, search engines are going to have to figure out how they're going to parse through all this content to figure out, like, who's real, like what's the most relevant, what's the best experience, what's the best stuff that we can serve the people using our resources. So there's a lot there. Just make the best website and the best content that you possibly can. That's really kind of like the in and out of it. I don't, and work with an SEO agency if you want to like really hammer and focus on that as a main strategy. But another thing I'll say is, you can get people to your website in different ways. You don't need to rely on search. There's other ways you can improve awareness that don't rely on an algorithm that's changing all the time. That really actually requires a lot of effort and a lot of money if you're going to go the SEO agency route. Think about it, learn about it, do your best to abide by the best practices, but try different things. Just walk up and down the street and wear a shirt with your business name on it is another way that you can start to bring awareness to your company and explore other options. Paid search, video, content, skywriters. Hire those planes at the beach. It's beach season. Get one of those planes to fly up and down with your website address on the back of it. And is there a book or video or other resource with basic tutorial for people that want to do it themselves? There's so much stuff out there. Whether it's Squarespace, whether it's YouTube is a treasure trove of information. And I did not go to school to learn this stuff. YouTube and really YouTube and some other walkthroughs. A lot of it was self-taught. There's so much stuff out there for you, and um, I was gonna say I can share some links in the description. I'm gonna go back if you're watching the replay, check the description. If you're watching this live, come back a little bit later this afternoon, and I'm going to provide some links for you to some of the different tools, but I'll also point out some other creators on YouTube that are doing a great job with tutorials. Um, Places like Elementor and Squarespace themselves, they have big knowledge bases on how to use their tools. And they're very good, they're very helpful. And also, I'll plug myself again. Next Saturday, I'm planning on running a WordPress specifically workshop. It's going to be a little bit broader, but I'm narrowing it in. So if you're interested in learning how to build a website with WordPress, you can sign up for that at learn.sidekick.show. It's going to be about 2 hours of instruction. It's just $49, and I'm going to go through everything from setting up a web hosting account, installing WordPress, installing Elementor, and building a homepage, a secondary page like an About Us page, and a contact form. And my goal is within 2 hours, you can get your website up and running. We'll also talk about domain names and registering a domain name and getting that connected. So from going from zero to launch in a weekend, learn.sidekick.show, sign up for the workshop, and I will be happy to dig in to this a lot more in depth and kind of give you a tour of some of these tools that I mentioned. We are at the... Oh, there's one more question. How do I resize my logo in the header of an Elementor? That's something that I can go through in the WordPress website. That does depend on a number of things. If you have Elementor Pro, they're getting in. That's technical schmechnical stuff. But I know the person who asked that question. If you need some help with that, I'll reach out to you and we'll take care of your logo situation. But anyways, hey, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you got some questions answered. I'll timestamp this with the different questions so you don't have to listen to me ramble for a full hour. But this was fun. If you have any more questions, if you like this, if this was helpful, let me know if you want to do it again. If you missed out on the live stream because you were eating a delicious lunch, leave a comment. Let me know what you ate. I'm going to go eat some lunch now because my blood pressure, my blood sugar is super low. Sign up for the workshop. I really hope to see some of you guys there. That should be another fun experience. All right, guys, you take care and reach out if you have any more questions. Any way I can help you build a website, improve your website, or help you with your business in general. I have a heart for people like you who are trying to grow their own business, who are striking out, trying to provide, create a better life for themselves, for their families, to just heed their calling and strike out and try something new. This is exciting. I'm excited for you. Whatever it is, whatever brought you to this live stream, why you want to build a website, I'm excited for whatever that is. It's probably something really cool and really exciting. And I'd love to connect with you and learn more about what you have going on. And let's see if there's any other way that I can help out. All right. But until then, until we meet again, you guys take care.